Welcome to Your Story Doesn't End Here, the mental health podcast for military and veterans. I'm your host, Rachel, and my mission with this podcast is to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, bring awareness to mental health issues, and provide value and solutions to help make life more abundant. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back for another episode of Your Story Doesn't End Here. Today's guest is Nick. He was born and raised in Victorville, California, and after high school attended Victor Valley College and earned a computer animation degree. Soon after graduating college, he decided to join the U.S. Navy. This allowed him to travel various parts of the world and live in different locations, his duty stations including Pensacola and Jacksonville in Florida, but his favorite was and still is NAS Whidbey Island, where he served as a naval air crewman and had the pleasure of spending the majority of his naval career right on Whidbey Island. And now these days, Nick is serving as a real estate agent for the community of Whidbey Island. Nick, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So yeah, I'd love to just have you share a bit about your story, your background in the Navy, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Sure. Okay, so let me see. I joined the Navy when I was 26, so I joined relatively late in life. I got all of my bad habits out of the way, and then I joined the Navy. And then I got out, I think, in 2017 or 2018, somewhere in there. But I had a good time in the Navy. And then I became a realtor. So I stayed here ever since. I've got 2 young boys and a wife now. And I'm just pushing forward with the real estate stuff and doing my thing.
Awesome. So I know that you and I have known each other a number of years. You're actually my instructor in C school.
Yeah.
And I know that you were going through the medical retirement process when I met you, and then ended up getting medically retired from the Navy. What did that process look like for you? Was there any specific mental health thing that you want to share within that story that could maybe provide value to the listeners today?
So at the time, there wasn't any mental health things. It was mainly I had 6 knee surgeries, 6 shoulder surgeries from dragging drives up and down our aircraft, which you're familiar with. I've had over 2,000 flight hours, so really wrecked my shoulder and wrecked my knee. Had sleep apnea. I think I was diagnosed with depression at the time. Didn't really address it. Got out of the Navy and did a lot of self-medicating, like I think a lot of us did while we were in, just drinking a lot of alcohol and, drinking to the foam, right? It's in our song. So, in our community, especially with the clearances that we held, I think that it was very difficult for us to reach out to somebody to ask for any kind of mental health things, because you're always afraid that you're going to lose your clearance. And then you're putting your workload on somebody else who's going through just as much as you are. So I think during my medical retirement process, there really wasn't any, it wasn't really addressed. And I actually I'm a year sober on the 3rd from alcohol. So that's a pretty big accomplishment. And I've been really active with going to a therapist now and seeking help that way, because a lot of the things we just don't address them in the Navy and I don't know why, because the resources are there, but we're afraid to use them. Because of the repercussions from a command or the repercussions of losing your clearance, which means, that can turn your whole life upside down. Now you've got to get re-rated. You've got to get sent somewhere else. Who knows what's going to happen? So you kind of just hold it all in, or you drink it down and suppress all of that stuff. So that's what I did probably up until about a year ago. And I'm finally starting to really deal with that stuff. And I actually have a test I'm going over to my therapist tomorrow, and we're going to go through a computer test and because they're pretty confident that I have some form of PTSD. And it came along, everybody's got sleep apnea. So, and I had sleep apnea, and apparently that's connected with depression and PTSD. From what I've been told from doctors, they say they usually run hand in hand. And I didn't know that. So I haven't gotten a full diagnosis yet. But in the Navy, I know that it was, you had to get re-upped for your clearance. I don't know if you were in long enough to have to go through that process again. And you got to talk to somebody, and then they redo your stuff. So, the answers to questions are always no, because no means naval opportunities, right? So, I avoided addressing my mental health while I was in the Navy, and I avoided it even when I got out. And now I'm 40 going on 41, and I'm finally starting to address it. I wish I would have addressed it much earlier. I see we lost a good buddy of ours last year. I'm not going to say his name. And then so many others from both commands that I was in. Saw a lot of suicide, and things that just weren't addressed. And I don't know that it was that the resources weren't there. It's just that there was repercussions to using the resources, whether that meant losing a clearance or putting a bigger workload on another shift, or, there's just a stigma in the military, and it's just much easier to go get a fifth of vodka or a fifth of Jack Daniels and drink it and carry on, and push forward and complete the mission. And that's the mindset while you're in too. And then you get out and you realize, oh, I'm a human being and I have all these feelings. And now I don't know really what to do with them, because I've been using these coping mechanisms for so long. And now I don't have the proper tools to use or to use for what I'm feeling or how I'm feeling. So it's been not necessarily a struggle. Well, it's been a struggle. It's been a journey. Let me tell you that, because I really have never dealt with anything, because it's just mainly been like, just suck it up and push forward. So, yeah, mental health in the military is definitely something that has to be addressed. And I just feel terrible every time I think about everybody that we've lost, friends and everybody always says that we're there for each other. Hey, if you got something to say it. But I don't know where the disconnect is, and why no one speaks up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's because we're afraid, or if we just don't feel like we can trust that things aren't going to be disclosed to commands, or, to our superiors, or what. But I just feel like if the military could just ensure that things weren't going to, be disclosed in some kind of form or fashion, that would make us feel better to like talk about it, but I just never talked about it while I was in. And I really wish I would, because I'm stuck in a mindset of, when did I get out? When did I join? 2007. So I'm still stuck in that mindset of how I dealt with things, So now I've got all this catching up to do of like, hey, like these are everyday problems that I've got to deal with without substances, without drinking, without, doing what I did then to cope. And it's hard. It's not easy. And, every day it gets a little bit easier, but life's tough. And in the military, you're just told to suck it up, and there is a mission to do when you're in the military, and I get it. But I just wish it was more focused on mental health, because I think the mission could be completed and people could feel better also, and it's not just push, 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 and then drink all your sorrows away and then get up and do it and push again. So I probably talk too much.
No, you're good. You're good.
Just like my instructing.
Well, you bring up a lot of patterns that I hear from a lot of people, especially the naval air crewmen that I have on the podcast. And, you hear so much about, I couldn't speak up because of my clearance, or I couldn't speak up because I felt bad. I think that feeling bad is like a huge one, especially at the smaller commands where one person being down makes such a huge difference. And let's be real, like people bitch and complain when one person is down, especially if it's for like a silent illness, or not silent, but an invisible illness that you can't see. Unfortunately, you hear those people in the background saying like, oh, they're just being a baby. Oh, they should have just sucked it up. Like you hear these conversations. So I think that a lot of it's a culture thing. And I agree with a lot of what you said. And congratulations, by the way, on being sober for a year. That's a huge, huge accomplishment. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with drinking. It's just, I just didn't have an off switch.
Right.
That's just the way that I dealt with things for so long. And there was just no off switch for me. But it is tough because when you have one person go down in the shop, then everybody's talking shit. Everybody's like, oh, this person, just gold bricking and doesn't want to do the work, or, they're coming in late. And, it's tough because that's the shop that you're in. You're close to these people and you're talking about everything, right? From the most crass detail to like your family and everything else. And then when something happens with mental health, well, you don't want to talk about it with them. And if you're talking to a mental health provider, you don't want to disclose any of that stuff. You don't even want to tell your LPO, but maybe your LPO does know. And sometimes LPOs disclose things to the shop too. And it's no, and then it's like high school, right? The Navy's a lot like high school. So, it's like it's shame. There's like a lot of shame attached to mental health, and there shouldn't be, and there'd be a lot more of my friends alive today if there wasn't shame attached to their mental health. I think, at least I'd like to think they'd still be here if they weren't ashamed to say something.
Yeah, I agree. And you talk about the resources being there, but people not using them. And you're not the first person that said that, interestingly enough. And that's why I say that I think it's a culture thing. But you being a veteran, you actually brought up a really interesting point that came up for me while you were talking about how in the military, there's a mission, and a lot of people cope from substances. You see a lot of smokers, a lot of alcohol users, some people dabbling with other substances. You see people getting kicked out for these things as well. And but when you're a veteran and now all of a sudden you have this like massive amount of freedom, and it's like now you have to cope. I think that this is what now brings up this problem where a lot of veterans have a lot of mental health issues that are coming up that they didn't realize they had before. Or we see veteran homelessness, or, we see a lot of PTSD. And do you think that a lot more of your mental health issues came up for you when you got out and you didn't have that, I guess, for lack of a better term, safety net of the Navy, or like you didn't really have to think about it?
I would say yes. I think that's when a lot of the mental health issues started coming out, just because you didn't have that, the command that we were in was drive all the time. There was no stop. It was always go. So even if you had mental health issues, you were able to drink them away, and then you knew that you could get up with a hangover and just go right back out for 12 to 18 hours, or you'd be deployed all the time. So your mind's kind of in limbo, right? So it's just put on the back burner. And then when you get out, all those problems and all those mental health issues start to surface, and then you don't know what to do with them. Then you're like, okay, what do I do with this stuff? well, I do the same thing that I used to do, right? So I would just drink, but now I don't have that go, 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 go. Now it's just me and my coping mechanism and all this free time. So I think all of that it just came to a point for me, at least, where it was like, okay, I'm gonna go have to see somebody or to talk to somebody, and it's interesting because there's a lot more resources available outside of the Navy. And once you get your VA benefits, I don't know if you got yours, but I got medically retired, and now I go through the VA. And yeah, it was a process, but now I have a counselor and I have a psychiatrist and those things, and they seem much more accessible than they were in the Navy. And maybe it's just because I wasn't seeking them out when I was there, because I just was like, I can't do that to my command. I can't do that to my fellow shipmate, So, yeah, it just sucks because you do see a lot of veterans that are homeless, and it breaks my heart because it's like, there are programs, but they're accessible, but you've got to get online. You've got to go through the process. It could take you 6 months to find somebody. It's not a quick process, and a lot of these guys they need like 5 days, like 5 days max, to get them to where they're at least talking to somebody, getting the medications that they need to get on. But I don't think that that type of process is in place for them. At least I don't know of any process. Getting a referral from the VA is a nightmare. I mean, it could take a month, it could take 3 months, it could take a week. You never know. It's a crapshoot. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I'm in the kind of tail end of the process with the VA right now, and it's still been taking a while for me. So you're right. I think that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, both on the active duty and on the veteran side. What was the turning point for you where you decided that enough was enough and you needed to start seeking the help that you felt you needed?
Well, I would say, I lost my 18-year-old son last year to a fentanyl overdose. And that was kind of my breaking point. That was, it couldn't be ignored anymore. I was coping with the way, I was using my coping skills, which were not good. I would say that was probably my breaking point, to where I was like, okay, I need to seek help. Like, this is it, and it took a big life event for me. Because who knows, I could have just been continuing on with my same coping mechanisms to this day if that never would happen. So the situation sucked, but I miss my son, but I'm thankful that it happened. Otherwise, who knows where I would be right now had I not sought help.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your son. I had no idea. You keep a very strong, what's the word? Very strong poise and how you show up no matter what you're going through. And I don't know if that is something learned throughout your lifestyle and everything you've been through, but I couldn't imagine, especially having a child of my own now. I could not. But at the same time, you're right. Sometimes it does take these major life events for us, unfortunately, to really make these major changes that we need to make in our life. And I'm glad that you're able to start turning your own life around from something that realistically could have gone anyway for you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what you're doing now, because now you're in real estate and you have this beautiful Instagram reel series going on that I've really been enjoying, talking about everything from your why to your background and everything, in between. So first I'd like to talk about why you chose real estate out of the military, and then just kind of get into where that's gone for you so far.
So initially, I'm sorry, I got everything going off right now because I'm in real estate. But initially, when I, from the outside looking in, when I was getting out of the military, I was like, "Ooh, real estate looks bright and shiny, and there's money involved." And I didn't make any money in the military, really. Comparatively, they didn't pay us peanuts, but compared to a civilian job, military is not much. But so I joined or not joined, but I decided to do real estate because I wanted to help people. But that wasn't my first intention. My first intention was I'm going to make a lot of money and I'm going to sell all kinds of houses. And it took me probably a year to figure out that, the real estate's not about homes, it's about people. And that's when everything kind of clicked for me. And I created a brand and just went with the branding and I've stuck with the branding since 2018. I've been branding myself and doing really well in real estate and helping a lot of people, and it makes me feel good and makes them feel good. And, just giving back, I guess, to the community and being able to help people. It's really good. It's a good feeling.
I love that. And, I see your brand, your stickers everywhere. I know this is a podcast, so people can't see, but he has this.
It's right here.
A bearded man, orange beard. I don't know. I'll post a picture of it on my social media so that everyone can see. But very iconic, and when you see it, you know what it is. And so I think it's very cool how you really turned your circumstances around. And I think for veterans and for active duty and anyone listening that's associated with the military, knowing that it's about the people, regardless of what career you're in. It's always about the people, right? Because if the people aren't happy, the people are the most valuable asset of whatever it is that you're doing. Were there certain fears that you faced when you were getting out of the military and looking at a different career?
Yeah, well, everybody says when you get out of the military, it's like, what am I going to do when I grow up, right? So, there was a lot of fear. I think at the first year, I sold maybe one or two houses, and it just really wasn't panning out. And then I started the brand, and then it started to reap. I started to really reap the benefits of the branding and kind of my mantra, which I have right here. It's improve everything around you, uplift what's in front of you, and that's kind of what I've. It's kind of like my mission statement, I guess. But I really do just enjoy helping people. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question or not. I'm babbling a little bit.
No, you're good. Everyone I say this all the time, everyone that gets on the podcast feels like they're babbling, but you really are just putting out so much value, especially if you think a lot of the people that listen in, maybe someone wants to go into real estate, or maybe they don't know what they want to do, and there's a fear associated with that. I know a number of people who medically separate from the military. I know a number of people who maybe they have something set up for them and something falls through the cracks. And there's always that level of fear when it comes to a transition. And I think that hearing someone else's story and knowing that you've been through it and you've made something out of it, it's extremely helpful for people. So I appreciate you sharing that. Mindset wise, where do you think that you really started to make that transition from, oh my gosh, this isn't panning out, to this is what I need to do and we're just going to roll with it and keep doing it till it works?
Oh man, I think mindset. I think that was when I did my brand launch over at Terry Bosey's bar over at the Wicked Tootin', and I just saw the community accepting the brand and being like, playing along with me, and humoring me, and I saw it take off, and I was like, this can really work. I don't have to do things like other realtors. I can have fun with it. I can, I don't have to dump a bunch of money into Zillow. I can brand and I can give stickers to people and have fun conversations with them, even if it's not about real estate, because a sticker opens up so many avenues and so much conversation with somebody, because it's a sticker. Everybody likes stickers. But it just, I guess for me, it was probably in 2019, and I think I sold 20 houses that year. And I was like, wow, this is, and I wasn't even thinking about it because I was out of that mindset of money. I was in the mindset of people. And that really was like, I was like, holy crap, like I can do this. Like, this is something that I can do. And then I realized that Instagram and Facebook was a free platform that I could use. And that's what I started using. And I get referrals all the time. And I've got a bunch of listings coming up now. I'm kind of stressed out about that. People don't really see that in the background. They think realtors, oh, here's all your money, and now you don't do anything. That's not true, by the way. I do a lot of work, working on few places right now. But I guess it was just, it was realizing that I could support my family doing the job that I was doing and having fun doing it. So that was probably the point.
I love that. And I hope that other people listening really take to heart your journey and your process, because I know it hasn't been easy for you. And I just wanted to applaud you for all the hard work that you put in, because I've seen it kind of from the outside looking in, and it's been an incredible journey, honestly. Everything that I've seen in your life manifesting so far. And I'm really excited to see what else you have going for you. What is next for you personally and professionally?
So personally, I got a 1.5-year-old now, and I got my 5-year-old and my wife. And so eliminating all that stuff that I was using in my life, I have a lot of time to spend with my family now, which is great. I spent time with my family, at least I thought I did. But I was really absent a lot because I was using bad coping mechanisms. So now it's just enjoying small moments and taking that in. And it's something that I really took for granted for a very long time. So personally, that's something that's coming up. Professionally, I have the magician coming back. He should be coming back in September. I got to start getting that all worked up. But his name's David Da Vinci, and he's trained Oprah's birds, which is weird, right? He's a bird guy. But we already did one magic show. Well, we did two. And this was before COVID. So this would have been 18 and 19 over at the Oak Harbor High School. Sold out all the tickets there. And we had a big Vegas type show. And he does illusions. So it's not like a rabbit out of the hat kind of thing. So, and then we donated all the money to the Boys and Girls Club. So I think this year, when my son passed, the community really reached out and donated a whole bunch of money to Ryan's house. So we're probably going to set up the the illusionist, David Da Vinci. You can look him up. He's trained with Circus. Who else did he train with? There's another really big magician. It's not Chris Angel. It's another big one that he's buddies with. And but he's going to come out, and we're going to donate the money to Ryan's house. So that should be in September. And I got to get on that because I got to get the school all booked and make sure everything's cool. But COVID kind of threw a stick in the spoke for everyone.
It did with everything. Cool. No. Well, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. Where can people find you so they can follow up on that story? And this, for people that live in Whidbey Island, unless you want to travel, you're also more than welcome to travel for it. But where can people find you so they can follow up on this stuff or just follow your journey in general?
So they can find me at Nick Ritchie Realtor on Instagram. Same on Facebook. My website is nickritchiehomes.com. And, on Instagram is probably the best place. TikTok's all the same handle too.
Perfect. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. It's really incredible, again, everything that you've come up from. And I think at the end of the day, just being an inspiration to other veterans in active duty, that you can come back from using unhealthy coping mechanisms, and you can come back from the hard circumstances in your life. And I truly, truly think that that is an incredible story. And again, I look forward to, yeah, absolutely. I look forward to seeing what else you have going on in the future.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen in today. Each week, I'll be bringing you value in the mental health space and its direct impact on service members and veterans. If you feel you personally got value today from this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a 5-star rating and review and share this to your audience. Until next time, remember, your story matters, your mental health matters, and your story doesn't end here.